Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Final Fantasy XIII on A and Z. I am Zauberhaft, standing or hovering next to Mr. Hope, the guy who has just lost his mother in a cruel battle against the Sanctum troops. And as I have promised, what I'm gonna be doing right now probably is going right into this section where all the items and weapons are stored. Here we go, we got even more. Probably because we have, judging by the exact number of the weapons here, the equipped weapons, it means we currently have 4 protagonists, right? And we have already seen 5, I believe. So yeah, what we're going for is the data log. The primers just go away. We have read everything, I believe. Let's start with a little bit of an event recap. The Fires of Fate. That's something what everything... Well, this is what everything has begun with. So, Lightning and Saz are held aboard a military purge train along with a group of civilians destined for exile. A stark contrast to uncertain and despairing people around her, Lightning appears determined and focused. She seizes upon an instant of inattention to disable a guard, and her impressive display inspires Saz and other civilians to take up arms against the soldiers. Hey, yeah, and that did inspire me as well. After clashing with army forces, the train crashes into a halt on the war-torn district known as the Hanging Edge. Saz attempts to figure out Lightning's angle, but she shows little desire to share. The former soldier throws herself into battle without the slightest hint of hesitation. What could be driving her? And that is something we don't know yet. Fields of War. Suspect civilians of Cocoon are wrenched from their tranquil existence and threatened with exile to the world of Pulse. So this is what Pulse is, it's another world or something. The Purge has begun. The land below, that's the Pulse, another name for the Pulse, is said to crawl with unknown perils, and terrified civilians begin to rebel against the Purge. A revolt also occurs on the train transporting Purge deportees as Lightning's battle against the guards galvanizes the other prisoners into action. Yeah, that's one way to put it. The train comes to a halt in a district known as the Hanging Edge. That's something we have already read. Now a hellish war zone where soldiers open fire indiscriminately upon civilians. And they have orders, right? It's actually difficult to even handle this. It's terrible when you're a soldier. Like, you are going under the court right away if you disobey the commands of your direct CO, and it is terrible. I mean, they have just been ordered to open fire on these civilians. That's a tough choice. Lightning makes her way through the middle of the conflict, all but ignoring her uninvited companion Saz. She seems determined to press onwards, even when the path before her is destroyed by military strikes. Well, yeah, none of those, luckily, have struck home. Another rebellion. The peaceful civilians of Cocoon live in constant fear of invasion by the forces of Pulse, the world below, and supposed home of terrors unknown. So this basically states they have been brainwashed for their entire life that Pulse is something terrible, and they have no idea. They simply think that Pulse is the representation of hell as it is. Were even a single Pulsean agent to be discovered on Cocoon, panic and civil unrest would be sure to follow, threatening the very fabric of society. To prevent such a calamity, the Sanctum, Cocoon's governing body, initiates the Purge, a government initiative officially entailing the deportation of all those who may have come into contact with corrupting Pulsian influences. So yeah, just should they come near anything Pulse origined, they are already suspects and they'll get purged. Purged basically meaning killed, because they are not even going to be transported to Pulse. They will simply be like massacred, maimed and destroyed by bullets, rockets, fire and mechanized half-savage war beasts we have seen already. However, the Sanctum army is now brutally slaughtering the civilians they were supposed to be deporting. That's what I have just said. Realizing that the Purge is nothing more than a massacre in disguise, Snow leads the young freedom fighters of Nora in an effort to protect the Purge deportees from the Sanctum soldiers. The warpath home. And that must be the continuation of their story. The Purge is a Sanctum initiative designed to protect the stability of Cocoon by forcing potentially dangerous civilians to relocate to Pulse. However, the relocation is simply a facade, I'm not sure, to cover the massacre that ensues. The government's true goal is the brutal extermination of all possible threats to a peaceful society. And we are yet just about to discover why exactly they think that everybody who could have come near anything Pulse origined are threats. We don't know that for sure yet, just the way all these people, they simply have no idea what is going on. They are torn from their homes and they are shot at. That's what is happening around here. Having discovered the horrific truth, Snow leads the members of Nora against the government soldiers of XIII. Inspired by the actions of this handful of brave young men and women, the beleaguered civilians take heart and join the battle in hope of returning to a normal life. Among the civilians who stand against the forces of XIII is a mother who wishes for nothing more than to protect her son. Yeah, that's the pale-haired lady. The mother of Hope, who died in an attempt to save Snow, and she did save Snow because she took down this sky tank, saved his life, but the following rocket suddenly interrupted her own. And not just interrupted, just cut it considerably. And that's not even funny. Fallen innocents. Cocoon's citizens have always been terrified of Pulse and the mysterious horrors that are said to stalk its hostile wastelands. Well, that's another hint. Their fear is so great that if a Cocoon native were to have even the briefest contact with Pulsian elements, former friends and neighbors would consider them corrupted and dangerous. Wow, this is how far the brainwashing goes here. In light of this fact, the Sanctum orders the purging of Bodum in an attempt to remove all potentially Pulse-trained civilians. Pulse-tainted civilians, yeah, sorry. And Bodum is the city. We have not yet come across this name, and this is exactly what we are going to be doing in the nearest story chapters. Accordingly, soldiers round up all those identified as candidates for relocation and inform them of their impending exile. However, XIII, the elite arm of the Sanctum military, then begins to massacre the helpless civilians. This prompts Snow to lead the people in a rebellion against the army. Tragically, one of the civilians who decide to follow him, hoping to protect her son, dies in the act of saving Snow's life. From afar, the boy witnesses the moment of his mother's death in shock and disbelief. And that will be Hope again. It's just written from the perspectives of different members of our future hero team. The foul sea awaits. And there's like the same picture all over again for everything. A massive object is transported through the sky over the hanging edge. This object is a pulse vestige, a lower world artifact that had been nothing more than a Bodum landmark. Local landmark, that is. 2 days ago, it was discovered that the vestige housed a long-dormant pulse fal'Cie. The fal'Cie had slumbered undisturbed on the outskirts of a Bodum city for centuries. The Sanctum decrees that the presence of the pulse entity and its corrupting magics have tainted the entire population of the city and orders the purge. Wow, it actually requires quite a power to taint the entire population of a city. That's not something nice, I should say. Even the fal'Cie is not an idiot. It will not just go ahead and taint everybody around. That's what I think, based on what I know about this game. For different reasons, Lightning and Sazh now make their way towards the very being that was the catalyst for so much tragedy. Snow, meanwhile, is crushed by feelings of guilt after many die under his command. He only emerges from his gloom when Godot reminds him that the fal'Cie is holding a certain young lady captive, who needs her hero now more than ever. Into the vestige we go then. Snow still cannot shake the feelings of guilt. Well, if I were in his shoes, probably it would have been difficult for me. I mean, it would be difficult for me to shake the feeling of guilt too, but since well, there is nobody around to cover this. There is nobody around to take the role of leader. Then somebody should have, right? That's what I should say about this. He did take the responsibility. He did make a choice, and this is something you just live with. He couldn't have known. And even if he did know, there are a lot of guys being slaughtered and maimed in these fields of battle. That's inevitable, like any losses at war, so why feeling so much responsibility? That's something which comes like as a package, unfortunately. Despite his efforts to protect the purge deportees from the Sanctum forces, many have fallen. The death of one woman in particular haunts his thoughts. A mother fighting for the sake of her son who gave her life to save Snow. Oh yeah, she was fighting to save her son, and finally she decided that giving her life for Snow's salvation is a better idea. So she definitely must have had something in mind doing so. She must have believed in Snow, that's what I should say. That's what I think right now. She must have seen the feat Snow has performed, and she must have grown faithful. She must have believed in him and just decided that Snow would have been a better person to take care of her son, even though he has not any debt. Well, actually now he kinda has. And that's an interesting way to put it. Deliberately go die to put another person into a debt. But yeah, that's just the way to talk around things. In fact, that was not a deliberate action, of course. In the moments before her death, the woman begged the leader of Nora to take care of her child, but shipped from Snow's grasp without revealing the boy's identity. Yeah, she didn't have the time to. With Godot's help, Snow breaks out of his depression. He figures that if he just goes ahead and protects everyone, then the woman's son will be saved as well. That's an interesting way to put it, but maybe that's right. After checking to see if the children are safe, Snow leaves the waning battle to his fellow Nora members and sets off with new determination towards the vestige. His fiancée is still held captive by the Pulse fal'Cie. The boy watches him leave, eyes filled with rage and loathing. To his grief-stricken mind, Snow is responsible for his mother's death. Oh, that's something I did not see from the actual cutscene. So Hope basically cannot believe that his mother still died, and therefore, there we go. He blames Snow for it. I don't think he's right, but out of psychology, I think it comes. Like, he just cannot take the fact that his mother died and there is nothing to be done about that, and he's grasping at the last thing. He still wants to do at least something about that fact so that it doesn't weigh upon him heavily, and therefore he goes for blaming it all on Snow. He wants to do something about it, at least tell him, if not have the revenge or something. Yeah, I do understand the psychological basis for this. The 13 days is probably something that came before the events, the current events in the game. Day 13, the very last day, the Exile. A fal'Cie of Pulse origin was discovered within a vestige on the outskirts of Bodom 2 days previously, having apparently spent centuries in hibernation with humans, none the wiser to its presence. The Sanctum deemed the potential contamination by Pulse magic a risk too great to overlook, and immediately enacted legislation permitting the purge, an involuntary removal of the fal'Cie and the entire population of Bodom from Cocoon. Deportees were told only that they would be transported to Pulse. Of course, why tell them they're going to die? They will revolt like in an instant. Let's better transport them somewhere nobody else can see the massacre. And just kill them out there. So that other people simply don't know a thing and consider those simply deportees. Brainwashing in effect, ladies and gentlemen. History and myth. And that's some sort of backstory that is not revealed in the game and can be only read over here, just so you have the opportunity to delve deeper into the atmosphere and the game's story. Resting in Cocoon's shadow, the sprawling and enigmatic lower world of Pulse is home to multitude of terrors. The land is commonly believed to be inhospitable to human life, and strict ban on interworld travel forbids civilians of Cocoon from venturing there to challenge their hypothesis. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Also, the travel between Cocoon and Pulse is forbidden, so this entire initiative with relocation to Pulse is nothing more than, I don't know, play upon words, I think, because they will not have the people travel to Pulse. They will not travel to Pulse themselves. They will not even have the soldiers travel to Pulse, and that's a terrible thing. It's actually easy to guess that those guys are not remotely going to Pulse. There is something a lot terrible that awaits for them than, religious hypothesis that Pulse is hell. Not even members of the Sanctum's upper echelon can claim to have seen the surface with their own eyes. But the attempted invasion by the world's savage armies several centuries ago is well documented. sidespread fear of a repeated assault persists among the populace even today, with colloquial reference often likening the world to a manner of living hell. That's it. Nothing to add over here. So there must have been a war between Cocoon and Pulse several centuries ago, and since then, all the time, the government of Cocoon has been threatening people with another invasion that is getting prepared for some reason. Even though they say that there is nothing there on Pulse and there is no human being anymore. So they are afraid of some sort of monsters. And now the Pulse Foul Sea. Or the Vestige, it is. Which is inside the Vestige, that is. Foul Sea are an existence beyond human comprehension, possessed of incredible magic power. The ones responsible for Cocoon's construction are protectors of humanity, but there are others of their kind as well, the Foul Sea, who dwell on Pulse and name themselves enemies of Cocoon. So yeah, there are Foul Sea on the side of Cocoon, and this particular Foul Sea is the Pulse origin Foul Sea, and this is what they are afraid of. It's like the god of a different world that opposes itself to this world, its populace, and its gods. Well, just a really basic thought about this. Humans who encounter Pulse Foul Sea are cursed, being turned into l'Cie and ordered to destroy Cocoon. It is for this reason that most ordinary civilians support the Purge. Anyone who may have come into contact with one of these Foul Sea represents a dire threat. So this is why they are afraid of them. They are capable of turning any human being into their servant. And this is a terrible thing to do. Just imagine that it can zombify somebody around you and the guy will simply have no longer any choice. Well, it has nothing to do with zombifying though, but still. The Hanging Edge. This is the district where we have been so far. A relic of days before the War of Transgression, the Hanging Edge is located near Cocoon's outer rim. The area was once a thriving urban center, but residents were forced to abandon the location when an attack by Pulsian forces cracked Cocoon's shell during the conflict several centuries past. It was since designated a restricted zone, and with civilian access prohibited, soon became nothing more than a name on local maps. Oh yeah, that's what they're talking about. This is the place torn down originally by the war between Pulse and Cocoon. And now they're simply using this Hanging Edge zone to maim and massacre the remaining population that they deem having been cursed by the Foul Sea, evidently. Cocoon, the place where everybody lives in this world. From her lofty seat, the world of Cocoon has long enjoyed tranquility. The interior of her spherical shell supports several sprawling cities and a population numbering in the tens of millions. Ooh, that's quite a large thing, I should say, for just a satellite. Although a variety of dangerous beasts prowl the wilds, advanced technology and the protection of the world's Foul Sea keepers ensure residents a peaceful and prosperous existence. Travel to the lower world of Pulse is forbidden, but given their deep-seated cultural fears of the place, Cocoon citizens would not even think to venture beyond the paradise they know. Oh yeah. So they're basically almost locked in the shell so that they never learn anything outside. Well, this is not sounding like paradise already. And we also can read something about the Cocoon society here. The Sanctum. Cocoon's central government, the Sanctum, holds supreme executive, legislative, and judicial power. Whoa! All the power, all the three branches concentrated in the hands of one organization. That's somewhat totalitarian thing. And also maintains directive authority over the military. Yeah, that's it. Despite the fact that Cocoon was built on by the fal'Cie and not by humans, fal'Cie opt to participate only superficially in governmental affairs, leaving Cocoon's administration entirely at the discretion of the human sanctum and its primarch, Gallant Daisley. And that's his picture over here, Mr. Gallant Daisley, the primarch. And probably we should call him the king or the emperor, because he must be the supreme leader. I don't even think there is anything that restricts his power, judging by the organization of the governmental system here. The Purge. To the millions who call Cocoon home, the lower world of Pulse represents a constant source of fear. Suspected association with Pulse means stigmatization as an enemy of the state and all mankind, even for born and raised citizens of Cocoon. The recent discovery of a fal'Cie from Pulse near the city of Bodom caused widespread civil unrest. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit stumbling on the way. After placing the city's entire population under quarantine due to the possibility of contamination, the Sanctum then announced its intent to forcibly relocate the affected to Purge in an emergency measure dubbed by authorities as the Purge. Oh, sorry, I have misread the word, right? The affected to Pulse, yeah, in an emergency measure dubbed by authorities as the Purge. It's the description of what we are coming up around here. PSICOM. These are the military forces to be. The Sanctum military is composed of two main branches. The Guardian Corps, responsible for maintaining security in various jurisdictions throughout Cocoon, and PSICOM, Public Security and Intelligence Command. Well, basically, Guardian Corps is the local police, I think. And the PSICOM is evidently the military itself, that is, the army. PSICOM is an elite special operations unit charged with protecting Cocoon from Pulsian incursion. In contrast to the lightly armed Guardian Corps, PSICOM employs an array of advanced heavy weaponry and cruiser-class airships. As PSICOM bears responsibility for any and all threats of Pulse origin, it was PSICOM who conducted the Purge. So now I see how that works. Bioweapons, and these are the things we have encountered a lot of times so far. The Sanctum has developed a vast arsenal of weaponry to defend against the constant threat of Pulse. And these living weapons are one of the many fruits to research has borne. Yeah, that they have been researching a lot of stuff, and this is what they have come up with. Isn't this a little bit like classified inappropriate animals treatment? Isn't that cruelty towards animals or whatnot? Do they even have the Greenpeace or something? It is not appropriate, like making half robots from animals, I think. Ordinary Cocoon wildlife transformed into efficient killing machinery through selective breeding, intense training, and physical augmentation. Bioweapons retain all the raw power and feral fury of their natural counterparts while obeying the commands of their handlers with unwavering loyalty. Yeah, this is something cruel, I should say. Well, if I skip all this purge business, AMP technology, antimatter manipulation principle. Ooh, that's literally magic, I believe, but masqueraded by scientific progress. Well, so this technology forms a foundation for a variety of technological wonders, enabling phenomena ranging from phase-space interference to the manipulation of gravitational force. Humans ordinarily lack the means to wield magic, but through the use of mana drives, it's actually an interesting way to put it, another product of the principle, it is possible to synchronize its effects. I like the way it is called mana drive. It's like mana is viewed as some kind of substance everybody has, and probably there is like a special device that activates the resources of mana and channels it. So basically it's a device, but still it nevertheless allows you to perform things comparable to magic itself. I would like to have one of these things, come on! Sounds really impressive. And finally, NORA. The paramilitary organization known as NORA is a group composed of like-minded like-minded youths assembled by Snow and self-founded by the operation of the Seaside Cafe in Bodom. Well, yeah, Bodom is their hometown for all of them. Functioning as a neighborhood watch of sorts, NORA members patrol the vicinity of Bodom for trouble. Most often, trouble consists of encroachment by dangerous forms of life. Wildlife, that is. NORA had never openly acted out against the Sanctum prior to the Purge, and because of this, the military had been content to turn a blind eye on the group's activities. I don't think that's a nice thing to do. There is a group of guys armed with weapons and everything. They call themselves a paramilitary organization, and since they pose no threat to actual government, go ahead, do whatever you like. Probably it's not the best thing to do, but they have been lucky all along, and now they have to oppose the government. Yeah, they finally are deemed criminals. And yeah, we got some of the enemy intel. They're all separated into groups, all classified. These current guys have no particular special resistances, or actually they do have. All the physical damage they receive is halved, and it is not only for Psycom Marauder and for some local soldiers too. Tilters. That's a Myrmidon here. Weakness to fire, and nobody has fire damage so far. Pantheron has weaknesses to a lot of elements such as fire and cold damage. But again, we don't have any option to use any elemental damage onto our opponents. This one has the really... Well, what is this? Beta Behemoth is really susceptible to lightning and water. No magic so far. And Manaswin Warmech. No special things. Unremarkable, but really susceptible to lightning and water as well as the Behemoth. And I believe that's all for enemy intel for now. I will remove those exclamation marks from these. Gameplay, basics, battle, exploration, and main menu, we are not remotely interested in those. From this moment forth, I believe I have covered all the information around there. It's like the game has barely started and we are thrown a lot of information at just to get to know where we are currently, what kind of world that is, and what we're dealing with. And something we're dealing with is that they're killing people just because they are, first, afraid of them being possibly turned into monsters or into servants of the other lower world of Pulse. And they basically just don't want anybody to turn into those monsters because, for some reason, they believe that the people who are turned into the Foul Sea servants, the Lessee, are not simply servants. They are probably dangerous and really posing a great threat to the stability of the society, the peaceful existence, and everything else that can be analyzed around here. Yes, I'm done with the analysis so far. I have covered everything, so right in the beginning of the following episode, I will go on playing the game and see how the situation unravels. And for now, yes, it was Zauberhaft, with an incredibly terrible reading so far. See you soon, ladies and gentlemen. Signing out.